Welcome to the showcase of Logical Operations Authorized CCP and CCA Courseware. You might be wondering who Logical Operations is. We are a publishing company that's been around for more than 40 years, empowering instructor-led training with courseware and labs. We have over 3,000 training delivery partners worldwide, and we offer over 5,000 products on our store, covering the most in-demand technology skill areas such as cybersecurity, data science, artificial intelligence, web development, ITIL, and more. We have been involved with CMMC since the beginning. We are a CMMC licensed publishing partner with authorized curriculum for the Certified CMMC Professional Program and the Certified CMMC Assessor Program. The CCP course is obviously targeted to people who want to join the CMMC ecosystem and get a certification. It is also a great training option for DIB employees, compliance officers, and prospective consultants. CCP is a great baseline course for anyone looking to build a foundation of CMMC knowledge. The CCA course is intended for people who want to become CMMC assessors or instructors, but it is also suitable for consultants or DIB employees who want an in-depth understanding of all the practices involved in the CMMC model and how an assessor thinks. As licensed training providers, you can be confident that our course content was reviewed in detail and explicitly approved by a DoD office, as well as an independent agency working under the approval of the DoD. The multiple reviews verified that the course not only addressed the certification exam blueprint, but also met other rigorous content and instructional requirements that were included as part of the LPP program expectations. The goal with our CCP and CCA courseware is to meet two needs. We want to make sure to provide content that helps students prepare for the CMMC certification exams, and we also want to make sure that the content enables them to be able to do the job well once they are certified. Our courseware is provided via the Choice platform, which is an interface that provides students and instructors with access not only to the courseware manual, but also to a collection of other resources that enhance and supplement the information contained in the manual. I'd like to pay special attention to three of these tiles. The ebook tile is where you will find electronic versions of the printed course books. The Files tile provides the slide decks for content delivery, as well as all data files needed to perform the course activities. The Assessment tile provides a self-evaluation tool that learners can use to check their understanding of the course content. For both CCP and CCA, there are pre- and post-assessments. Now let's take a closer look at the PDF and the other courseware assets for CCP. In the front matter of the Instructors Edition, there is a section that covers best practices for using our courseware. It includes such things as presentation tips for the overall course. For CCP, those tips point out that we have provided the official CMMC documents in a CMMC resources folder in the data files, and that on many of the slides you will find instructor notes that elaborate on the slide bullets to help you clarify the content for the students. The other thing that the presentation tips section points out is that the lesson durations are relatively long in this course. You should adjust your pacing as needed. Students may have a wide range of experience. Because the courseware is approved, you can't skip any content, but depending on your audience, you can spend less time on areas they are already familiar with, which will allow you to spend more time on areas that are new to them. Also in the instructor front matter are some presentation planners. The first planner is a schedule based on 5 days of continuous training. The content is broken up into small chunks of 1 to 2 hours, interspersed with breaks. Of course, as you get more familiar with the content, you will customize the planner based on your own pacing. There's also a second planner, which is based on a non-continuous set of sessions. For CCP, we've suggested 6 sessions, which range from 3 to 5 hours. This non-continuous presentation planner enables you to distribute the lessons over time. For example, you could hold sessions once a week for 6 weeks or twice a week for 3 weeks. Now, let's take a closer look at the instructor manual and the student manual side by side. As you can see from the table of contents, the pagination is the same. We'll cycle back to look at the table of contents in more detail in a minute. Each page contains one slide and a section for notes, and as you navigate through the student and instructor manual, they are almost exactly the same. As you can see on this page, there are some notes in the margins of the instructor manual. Those notes tell you 2 different things. First, there's a slide note there at the top that tells you what slide this page is related to. And there's often notes with delivery tips. For example, on this page, the tip recommends that you have the students go to an appendix and follow a URL to actually read the regulation. The remaining difference between the instructor manual and the student manual is where the answers to questions are located. In the instructor manual, answers are located inline so that you can easily prompt students without having to flip pages. Of course, we don't want students to see the answers before they do the work, so in the student manual, the activities provide space for them to answer. We want the students to have access to the answers after class, so if you look in the table of contents, you can see there is a solutions section in the back of the student book, and that is where the answers for all the activities will be located for students to review later. Now let's shift gears to look at the overheads. Each lesson has its own slide deck. For many of the slides, you will see speaker notes within the notes pane to help you deliver the content. Within each lesson, there are multiple topics, and these blue bumper slides help you know when you are transitioning from one topic to the next. There are also activity slides, which are a simple visual cue when you are delivering from the slides that it is time to turn to the PDF and work on an activity. That being said, now let's take a look at some of the activities in the PDF. In all our courseware, there is a mix of what we call minds-on activities, which means discussion-based activities, and hands-on activities, which involve the students using tools to apply their knowledge. Now I'm going to show you a few of each type from CCP. For example, here's a minds-on activity about identifying what is and what is not sensitive information. It includes a number of different items. For each one, it asks students whether it is sensitive information or not and why they chose that response. This is a really important conversation to have in CCP. There's a lot of confusion out there about what is FCI and what is CUI, and this activity is meant to create a lot of discussion around that topic. Now let's take a look at a few hands-on activities. Here's a hands-on activity that asks students to utilize the official CMMC content, stepping them through the documents, asking them to really dig deeply into them. Here's another hands-on activity, which is meant to support the students once they are doing the job, not just studying for the exam. We've included an activity that involves assessing evidence of a fictitious company. As part of the data files in the Implementing and Evaluating Level 1 folder, you will see a gap analysis tool and an evidence spreadsheet, as well as some files created by a fictitious company named Redison. This is a hands-on activity designed to guide students through applying their knowledge. Now let's take a look at a few more aspects of the CCP book, including the appendices. The first appendix is the evidence collection approach for CMMC Level 1 practices. Essentially, it provides the most likely type of evidence to document compliance for every assessment objective for the Level 1 practices. The other appendix includes links to additional documentation that might be helpful, including the CMMC documentation and the specific standards and regulations that pertain to CMMC. The courseware includes overviews of the regulations, but to really be prepared for the exams, students should read the regulations. The final appendix explains that the courseware aligns with the exam blueprint and where to find the alignment map. I've mentioned several times that the courseware is approved, which means that it aligns with the certification exam blueprint, and it's very important for you and your students to identify just how it lines up. This mapping document is provided with the data files for the course to students and you as an instructor to document where the content for each certification exam objective from the official blueprint is located in our courseware. In the first column, you can see the lesson and topics for each exam objective. As you can see, Task 1, identify and compare roles, responsibilities, and requirements of authorities across the CMMC ecosystem, is actually covered in multiple places. And as you go down into the sub-objectives, you can see exactly where that content is located. Finally, let's look at the assessments. As I mentioned earlier, in the choice platform, there is an assessment tile that has 2 assessments, each approximately 25 questions, that students can take before and after taking the course to give them a general sense of their knowledge about CMMC. These are questions to self-check for understanding, not full exam prep. If students want, we have an additional product available for both CCP and CCA that provides exam preparation. Both the CCP and CCA practice exams use the same weights as the official certification exam across the exam domains. As you can see, the CCP practice exam includes 170 questions in each exam attempt, which are randomly drawn from the 500-plus question bank. The practice exam is delivered online and allows for unlimited retakes. And there's a 3.5-hour time limit per attempt. This provides a close simulation to the certification exam. Now that you're familiar with all the CCP courseware features, let's cycle back for a quick tour of the CCP table of contents. Lesson 1 is where we cover why CMMC is so important to defend our warfighters and the regulatory responses that pertain to protecting sensitive information. In Lesson 2, we talk about sensitive information, FCI and CUI, and how to identify it. And then in Topic B, we talk about proper management of sensitive information, such as marking and storage. Lesson 3 is about the CMMC program. Topic A is about the model itself, the domains, the practices, and the assessment objectives. Topic B covers the CMMC program, which focuses on assessing compliance with the model and the ecosystem that's involved in making those assessments happen. Topic C is about self-assessments and what role they play in CMMC version 2.0. Lesson 4 is about CCP responsibilities and how CCPs can demonstrate appropriate ethics and behavior. Lesson 5 is about scoping. The first two topics cover how to use the assessment scope documentation and how to figure out what needs to be assessed within the DIB organization's environment. Topic C covers the process to determine how sensitive information moves. CMMC is an information-centric model, not an IT system-centric model, which is new to many people. So we've included content to help students understand how to determine that information flow. Finally, we cover what you need to identify systems in scope, and at the end of the lesson, there's also a section on how to limit scope. Lesson 6 is about preparing a DIB organization, covering both how to create a mature cybersecurity program and how to evaluate readiness for a formal assessment. Lesson 7 is about determining what kind of evidence is acceptable for a practice and how do you actually evaluate that evidence. Lesson 8 turns the focus to CMMC's Level 1 practices. In Topic A, we go through each of the domains and the practices within them in great detail. Topic B is about performing a gap analysis, which helps the company know where they are compared to where they need to be in terms of compliance. And then in Topic C, we talk about assessing those Level 1 practices and do some hands-on activities, as I showed you earlier. Lesson 9 is about identifying the Level 2 practices at a very superficial level. If students want to learn more, the CCA curriculum is really focused on the Level 2 practices. Lesson 10 primarily covers the CMMC Assessment Process Guide, which is often called the CAP. Topic A is about identifying who is involved in the assessment and their responsibilities. Topics B through E cover the phases of an assessment: planning and preparing, conducting it, reporting the results, and, if necessary, conducting a POEM closeout assessment. We've now taken a good look at what the CCP Courseware provides and provided some details on how the choice platform in our instructional design model helps instructors deliver content and support students' learning. Let's finish off our showcase by taking a look at the CCA curriculum. The CCA Courseware has all the same elements as CCP in terms of the choice platform. So in this review, I will focus on the instructional design of CCA. Lessons 1 through 4 are very similar to the CCP Courseware. There's one slide per page, and there is space for taking notes. The supporting information for the instructor is in the Notes pane of the PowerPoint. Lesson 1 reviews the laws, regulations, and policies designed to protect CUI and reviews the CMMC documentation. Lesson 2 reviews the responsibilities of an assessor and provides valuable information from our subject matter experts on how to think like an assessor, as well as the type of documents that best support an assessment. Lesson 3 covers the CMMC assessment process document in great detail. Lesson 4 provides details on using the scope documentation to categorize the assets and how to work with the OSC to ensure the scope is valid before the assessment. Lessons 5 through 18 are the domain lessons, and they each have 2 topics. In each one, Topic A is about evaluating the practices, listing each practice one by one. Topic B focuses on best practices in assessment of that domain. So let's take a look at the Topic A slides for the access control domain. Each practice is covered on 1 or maybe 2 slides, depending on the amount of assessment objectives. They are color-coded to indicate the CMMC level. Level 1 slides are light blue, and the Level 2 practices are this darker blue color. In the PDF, instead of a notes section under each slide, there are assessment considerations for each practice. This is to facilitate both your instruction and the students studying later. As you can see in Topic B, we have some summary slides with the practices and an assessment objective count for each CMMC level. In the PowerPoint files, there are some speaker notes for those summary slides. And then we conclude with 2 slides in each domain where we have distilled our subject matter experts' experience in conducting assessments to provide students with assessment considerations for the domain and a set of best practices for assessing that domain. Let's take a look at the presentation tips for the CCA Courseware, your front matter, because there's a couple of details that I want to make sure that you're aware of. First, the CAP included in the CMMC resources folder is a version that is approved by the DoD and is intended to be used by CCA candidates for training and exam preparation, as it aligns to the exam blueprint. It is a slightly different version than the one that is publicly available on the CyberAB website. Students need to study from the version that we provide with the courseware. The 14 domains are covered in separate lessons for one primary reason. and that's to enable you to present them in any order you choose. Your experience in assessment, or your pacing needs, or students' familiarity with certain concepts may determine that you discuss the domains in a different order than the alphabetical sequence of the courseware. Now I'd like to talk about the activities in CCA. For 7 of the domain lessons, students will examine artifacts for a fictitious company in order to assess one specific practice in that domain. For the other 7 domains, the activities are discussion-based. We have provided an assessments result template that lists all 110 practices and all of the assessment objectives. It is not an official Cyber AB template. Students will create a copy to use for their work in the hands-on activities and can use the template after class also. Now let's take a look at an example of both those types of activities. Here is Activity 5.1 for assessing the AC practices. This is one of the hands-on activities that evaluates evidence for our fictitious company. Students will use the files in the Evidence Data folder to complete an assessment results template the way they would during a real assessment. For example, there is a 44-page SSP for our fictitious company, New Vintage Tool and Die. I'm currently displaying the page with a picture of the data flow diagram that was created as part of their assessment preparation. To model best practices, there is a solution subfolder inside the evidence folder that shows how our subject matter experts would document their evaluation of the evidence for the selected practices in all 14 domains. In the other 7 domains, the activities are discussion-based, but might still use the evidence folder to examine a document and answer an open-ended question, like we see here in Lesson 6. And there is a note in all these activities that says, if you have time, go ahead and direct your students to open up their assessment results template and complete their findings for that domain's practice as well. This concludes our showcase of the Logical Operations Authorized CCP and CCA courseware. Hopefully, this helps you to be more confident in delivering from our courseware. Best of luck, and thank you for doing your part to support the CMMC program and protect sensitive information.